Going behind the music once more with this highlight from a recent episode of Booked on Rock. Luca Perasi returns the title of his book, Paul McCartney Press to Play, that unmistakable 80s sound. It's part of Lily Publishing's Milestones series, Phil Collins. And he's credited on one track on this album, Angry. That's the next track. But honestly, I hear him on Good Times Coming, Feel the Sun. I hear him on Talk More Talk. I hear him on the last four tracks, starting with Pretty Little Head. He's not playing drums on that one, but I feel like that drum loop is something you'd hear on No Jacket Required.
Mm-hmm.
That's him on the next track, Move Over Busker. And after Angry is the final track, However Absurd. That's him on the drums. I mean, I'm curious as to your thoughts. I couldn't wait to ask you this because I love Phil Collins. I'm curious as to your thoughts on where you hear him outside of his quote unquote official credit on Angry.
Maybe I'm not that into Phil Collins as you are, so I trust it. I trust what you hear. Well, having spoken with Jerry about some of these tracks, he definitely confirmed his own presence. So I'm not aware of Phil Collins being in other tracks, because he basically was, according to what we know, he was basically in the studio for one day, because that track Angry was recorded 1 week after Live Aid. Okay, so the Live Aid was on the 13th of July, and so the Saturday 20 they showed up, him and
Pete
Townsend on guitar, and there was also Eddie Rayner on synthesizer was in the studio. And so, to my books and my information, Phil is not in any other tracks. You mentioned Pretty Little Head and or Talk More Talk and percussion. This kind of rhythms that lie behind. I know that Jerry Marotta programmed the Lindrum on Footprints, another track on the album. So I think it was the one who was programming the Lindrum, and also Eddie Rayner did a lot of programming. I had the chance to interview Eddie Rayner quite recently, last month, and so he mentioned him programming Lindrums and emulator throughout the album. He was called in to do specifically this kind of work, and adding piano parts, synthesizer, choosing different sounds to enrich the album. So, but anyway, anything could be, Eric, because McCartney's discography is full of details that we don't really know. So that's the official thing.
Because now I'm starting to feel like I'm crazy. I'm hearing things that I'm not hearing.
No, I mean,
no, I listen to so many of Phil Collins' music that it's like I'm tuned into it. But maybe it's like confirmation bias. I think I'm hearing it.
Well, anything could be. I mean, Paul said this thing at the time, that he involved Phil Collins only on one track because he didn't want to rely too much on such a big name, blah blah. But that could be an indirect confirmation that Phil is hidden somewhere, and they didn't credit it in him here and there. Anything could be. 2 or 3 years before Press to Play, there was a couple of articles in the press saying that Phil Collins was supposed to be joining Wings. I mean, because they knew that we're without a drummer again. It was 1981 or 1982.
Wow. Okay.
So at the time, I think they discussed it with George Martin about involving Phil Collins, blah blah. But there was another interesting thing that I was able to discover, and you find it in the book, without spoiling too much again. But since we're talking about Phil, I think it's interesting to mention this. And at some point, Phil said, "Okay, Paul still got it. I mean, it's a great artist, and I would like to produce him." So it was suggesting himself kind of a producer for Paul McCartney. And it didn't happen, but I mean, there was something definitely behind the scenes and context between Paul and Phil Collins, because I mean, Phil Collins around mid 80s, Phil Collins was the drummer. We
Oh,
all know that.
yeah.
So to come back to your question, I mean, it could be that there's some hidden credits here and there.
Listen to the full episode wherever you get your favorite podcasts.